ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you all for a weekly Gita class. So last week during our Tuesday class, some wrong people came in and the entire program got hacked. So we did a couple of verses, but then I thought because it was very disturbing, I thought we should go and do these verses again. So this is the second chapter. From verse number 11 onwards, Krishna is discussing the topic of the soul. So we had started verse number 20 last week. So we'll do a quick. So we'll do a quick recap of what we did last time. So verse 20 is like this. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So Krishna is saying, for the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. So what are the various characteristics of the soul? The first thing, the soul has neither birth nor death. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. That means the soul is eternal in the past, in the present, and in the future. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. Ajo means unborn, Nitya means eternal, Shashvato means ever existing, and Purano means very old, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport how this body undergoes 6 kinds of transformation. What are the 6 kinds of transformation the body undergoes? First, there is birth. After birth, one second. Yeah. So after birth, there is growth, correct? Yeah. So the body is born. After that, there is maintenance, there is growth. It produces some byproducts. Then there is dwindling and death. So these are the 6 transformations of the body. There is birth, there is maintenance, there is growth, there is reproduction, dwindling, and death. Anything material has these 6 kinds of transformation it undergoes. But the soul is called Kutastha. Kutastha means it is steady. It doesn't undergo any of the 6 changes. We are discussing Krishna at evening classes in our Facebook classes. So something very interesting is the same concept that Krishna is telling Arjuna here is the same concept Vasudev, the father of Krishna, tells Kamsa. Exactly same thing. So Vasudev gives a very beautiful example in the Bhagavatam. So he says that the moon in the sky The moon is steady. The moon doesn't change. But what happens when the reflection of the moon falls on the water? That reflection undergoes a lot of changes, lot of turbulence, right? Sometimes the size of the moon changes, right? Then when there is wind, the moon, the reflection of the moon wavers, but the moon is actually steady. So similarly, the soul is steady in the spiritual world, but we are identifying with this body, and the body is undergoing so many changes. So therefore, Krishna says, one who is intelligent doesn't lament for the change in the body. Like Vasudeva is telling Kamsa that why do you worry about death? Because death is anyway going to come. The body is anyway going to die. It is inevitable. So therefore, we should focus on the needs of the soul. So Prabhupada also explains here how this is a practical proof that the soul never becomes old. So therefore, people who are old are also in the same spirit as young man, right? So they also feel as young as before. Why? Because the soul doesn't become old, right? The soul is ever fresh and young. Only the body becomes old. So Prabhupada also gives this example, which we have discussed in the previous purports, that how do you perceive the soul? The soul is perceived by consciousness, Chetana. And we can't see the soul, but we can see the effect of the soul, that is consciousness. Just like sometimes the sun is covered by the cloud, or in the morning when the sunrise is happening, you may not be able to see the sun, but you can see the light of the sun before the sun. And when you see the sun rays, what do you conclude? That the sun is there. Even though I can't see it, you know that the sun is there. So similarly, what is the symptom of the soul? Consciousness. And this consciousness is spread all over our body. So therefore, we can't see the soul, but we can perceive the soul and understand that the soul is there because of consciousness. And once the person dies, the body is intact as it is, but the body is dead. It is unconscious. You go and pinch the body, you go and pierce the body has no sensation of pain, right? Because consciousness has gone and the soul has gone. So the symptom of the soul is consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that the Kathopanishad explains that there are two kinds of souls. One is called Anu Atma and the other is Vibhu Atma. So we are all infinitesimal. We are all very small. Like we saw, I think in the previous verse, the size of the soul is explained in the Shvetashwar Upanishad. 1/10,000 the tip of the hair. That's how small we are. Right? And who is Krishna? Krishna is large, infinite. We are infinitesimal. Krishna is infinite. Just like there is a spark of fire and fire, or there's a drop of water from the ocean and the ocean. In quality, they may be same, but in quantity, there is difference. And what is the proof of it? The proof of it is Krishna, that supreme person, doesn't forget past, present, and future. And the individual soul forgets. So Arjuna has forgotten all his previous births, but Krishna remembers all his previous avatars. So that is the difference between Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna and the living entity, that we tend to forget. Why? Because we come in this material body, in this material frame, there is forgetfulness. Like we were discussing this, we will not even be able to remember what we did yesterday at this time, exactly at this time or day before. Very difficult to remember. We keep forgetting. But Krishna knows everything. Therefore, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And therefore, we need Krishna in our life to enlighten us. So Krishna speaks Gita in order to enlighten us so that we can realize that original nature, that nature that we have forgotten. We have all forgotten that we were there one time in the spiritual world serving Krishna. We have all forgotten that memory is gone somewhere. So therefore, when we read Gita, those memories come again, and then we start acting on the level of the soul. And then Srila Prabhupada writes, who can understand the soul? One who is free from all material desires and lamentations, and by the grace of the Lord. So these topics are not just theoretical concepts. One is to understand on the head level, other is to realize these topics. That realization will come only by the grace of the Lord. So when we surrender to Krishna in a very humble way, then Krishna will give us these realizations. that yes, I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul. Not just theoretically, but we will be able to actually realize it. So that's what Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport. So we saw the summary of all the verses till now uh, that Krishna has been explaining. So we will not get into this. We'll get into the next slide. Yeah. So text 21. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katam sapurusha partha kam ghatayanti hantikam. So the translation is, O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So, Krishna is saying if anyone knows the eternal nature of the soul, or if anyone is on that spiritual level, such a person will not do any harm to anyone. Even though he may do a harm, it may be only for an ultimate good. It is not out of vengeance. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna these topics of the soul, and Krishna is also telling Arjuna to fight. So, someone may say that if Arjuna is becoming spiritual, why is Arjuna fighting? But Arjuna is fighting not for himself, he is fighting for the welfare of the public, he is fighting for a greater good. Just like we gave this example, if there is a cancer raging in your body, you may have to use a knife to remove that cancer. It may appear very painful, but the pain is needed. Like many people are taking vaccine now, right? So what is vaccine? Vaccine is before the virus actually comes and attacks you, you are already given those antibodies of those virus. That means in one sense, when you take that vaccine, there is a side reaction to it, but then that little pain will save you from bigger pain, right? Or when you take children for some injection, their fever is very high, you give them an injection, the child may think, what is the father doing to me, why is he giving me injection? But that pain will save the child from greater pain. Or parents send the children to school or college, right? So which child loves to go to school or college? No one really loves it. It's quite a painful experience, education in that sense, right? But parents do it because that little pain will save them from greater pain in the future. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that this verse doesn't recommend killing. No, it doesn't recommend violence. The Vedic injunction is ma himsyat, never commit violence to anyone. That is the Vedic injunction. Don't commit violence to anyone. But if you're authorized, if you're a Kshatriya, right? Kshatriya means his duty is to rule. Then a Kshatriya has to punish wrong people. Kshatriya can't say, I will not use violence. No. Non-violence is for the general public. For a Kshatriya also, he is generally non-violent, but when it is needed, he has to use violence. So Prabhupada says that violence has proper utility. So everything in this world has utility, correct? You just need to know how to use it, isn't it? A knife, it's useful if you know how to use it. So similarly, Krishna is telling Arjuna how to use violence for a proper cause. So Prabhupada says, who decides the proper utility? A man situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. So the first principle to utilize violence or anything, you have to have knowledge. You have to have spiritual knowledge. So only when you have spiritual knowledge, you know when to use, when to stop. So Prabhupada is giving that same example of that surgeon's knife, right? It can save someone's life, it can take someone's life. It depends on who is using it. If a skilled doctor is using it, it can actually save someone's life. So therefore, you have to use violence, in a proper way, in a through a proper authorized channel. If you use it, it has proper utility, right? So therefore, violence has utility, but it has to be done by one who is supposed to do it, not for everyone. So Arjuna is not killing for his own personal purpose. Arjuna, in fact, he didn't want to fight the war at all. But Arjuna is going to fight this war for a greater good, to establish dharma. So therefore, for an administrator, violence is permitted. Just imagine, if the administrators are not strict, the one who's ruling the kingdom is not strict, then what will happen? There'll be a lot of wrong people, thieves and all these people will increase. But if the administrator is very strict, then what will happen? Everything will be under control. No one will break the laws and rules. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport that violence has its utility. You just need to know how to use it. So then I think we also saw, yeah. So we saw these points 2021. So where the qualities of the soul are explained. So in fact, in this entire section from 11 to 30, you all can keep making a list of the various qualities of the soul that Krishna explains. A huge list will come. So Krishna says that the soul doesn't take birth, it doesn't die, it is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval, indestructible, immutable. Right? So the soul is eternal, it never dies, but the body goes through 6 kinds of changes. Birth, it remains for some time, growth, produces offsprings, dwindles and dies. Therefore, what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to not focus just on the life of the body. Definitely we are supposed to take care of the body, but then we are not supposed to pamper the body. The body is a vehicle so that we can reach a particular destination, isn't it? So we need to use this vehicle well. We definitely need to maintain this vehicle well. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So we definitely need to maintain this vehicle well, but we also need to know what is the purpose of this vehicle. The purpose, I mean, you don't get into a car and say, first class, put on the AC and let's go to sleep. That's not the purpose of a car. You use those facilities in the car, the AC and everything, but then you have to start your car and go somewhere. So the purpose of this body is just not to pamper this body, but the purpose of this body is so that we can reach self-realization. We can realize that we are that spirit soul and we can reach that spiritual world. So yeah, so we'll do text 22. I think we had started this also. This is a very, very important verse, a very interesting verse. Vachamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grinati naro parani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. I'll read the word to word. Vachamsi, garments, jirnani, old and worn out, yata, just as, vihaya, giving up, navani, new garments, grinati, does accept, naraha, a man, aparani, others, tata, in the same way, sharirani, bodies, vihaya, giving up, jirnani, old and useless, anyani, different, samyati, verily accepts, navani, new sets, dehi, the embodied. So the translation is like this. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new bodies, giving up old and useless ones. So isn't it? Krishna has made the concept of death so simple. So Krishna is saying, just like we give up old dress and wear a new dress, isn't it? Like if someone's dress becomes old, like if you have a kurta, where there are holes in it, it's getting torn. What do? Just give up that kurta, give up the dress and wear a new dress. You don't cry that, so many years I was wearing it, now it's gone. It's okay, it has to go. You get a new dress. As soon as you get a new dress, you will forget the old dress completely, isn't it? Just like, recently I had gone to Vrindavan for a yatra, probably before this, just before the second wave, I was in Vrindavan. And somehow in Vrindavan, I lost my slipper. It was a good slipper, nice slipper. I lost that slipper. So for some time, I felt bad that I lost that slipper, right? Because I had been using it. It was a good slipper. But then immediately I felt happy because I thought, now I will get a new slipper. Okay? See, happiness and distress just depends on how you see things, how you perceive things. So when death comes in front of you or when it's approaching, you may think that, why? Because just imagine if you're attached to a slipper that you have worn for 1 year, 2 years, and when you lose it, it's painful. Imagine when you have to lose our body, which we have been wearing like a dress for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. We become attached to it naturally. So no one wants to give up, right? But then that giving up becomes easy when you understand that as soon as I give this up, I will get a new body. So what difference it makes? As soon as I throw this slipper out or it goes away, it gets stolen, nothing to worry. I will get a new slipper again. If this old dress, if the dress gets old and worn out, no issue. You will get a new dress. If you are not getting a new dress, then there is something to worry. But Krishna says, in course of time, when the body becomes old, the soul gives up that body and takes a new body. Just like you have a vehicle, when the vehicle starts to give you a lot of problems, what do? You immediately start looking for a new vehicle, right? And as soon as you get that new vehicle, you just give up this vehicle, you just dispose it off, right? So similarly, Krishna is saying, why are you, Krishna is telling Arjuna that you are so attached to Bhishma and Drona, but why are you worrying so much about it? Because anyway, their bodies are old. Today or tomorrow, they're going to die anyway. So even if they die, you should be happy because they are going to get a new body. Either in the heavenly planet or in the spiritual world, they'll get a better body. So it's okay. You do your duty. That is what is most important. So Srila Prabhupada explains that uh, even the modern scientists accept the fact that the body is continuously changing. Even science accepts it. According to science, once in 7 years, all the cells in the body completely undergo a change. That means technically, once in every 7 years, you get a new body. And we can see the changes in our own life, right? So actually, to understand Gita, all it requires is common sense and uh, open-mindedness. If you have common sense and open-mindedness, you can see the philosophy of Gita everywhere, right? Like Shubhalas Prabhu has written this book called Open-Eyed Meditations. So if you just keep your eyes open and look around, you will see the philosophy everywhere, right? You can look at your own pictures, right? We may have had a picture of a childhood, of youth, and probably we are young now, middle age, then old age. If you look at these pictures, you will realize this fact that the body is changing continuously, right? So the change is unavoidable. And what is death? Death is just but another change of body. So, so how transference of atomic soul to another body is made possible? So the question is, okay, we are going to change bodies. What is going to be our next body? Prabhupada explains that first thing, it depends on the grace of the Lord, what He desires for us. Depending on Krishna puts that permutation and combination, and a new body is made for us. And the super soul sanctions that new body, right? And in this way, we get a new body and we change. So, like Krishna explains in the Gita ahead, that yam yam vapi smadan bhavam tyajyati anta kalevaram tam tam evati kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So whatever we think at the time of death, the summum bonum, the sum total of what we think at the time of death, we will get a next body. Right? So therefore, to cultivate the right kind of you all can hear me? Can you all hear me? You all can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, sorry, uh, it got cut off. Just 1 second, huh? I'll share. Yeah. So, yeah. So depending on our desires and depending on our karma, we get a next body. So therefore, desiring rightly. So spiritual life is ultimately about cultivating the right kind of desires, getting trained for it. Because for so many lifetimes, we have been trained to desire wrongly. So now it will take time for us to desire rightly and then do the right kind of devotional service. So devotional service is called akarma. So when we desire rightly and we do akarma, then by the grace of the Lord, we will get a spiritual body, no more material bodies. So Srila Prabhupada explains from Mundaka Upanishad and Shvetashvara Upanishad that both these Upanishads give an example that in one tree, there are two birds. So our body is compared to a tree. And in this body, there are two birds, Atma and Paramatma. And what this bird, the Atma, all of us, what we are doing in this body, we are tasting different fruits. Sometimes good fruit, sometimes bad fruit. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. Right? So we are tasting different fruits in this body. And what is the Paramatma doing? Watching all of us, waiting when we will turn to him. Right? So the other bird, Krishna, is just simply waiting. Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. He's just waiting for us to turn to him. Just imagine how patiently Krishna is waiting for us. Just like now, you have Vittal, in Pandharpur. Vittal is standing, with his hands on his hips, waiting for us to go to him. So that's how the Lord is, even as the Paramatma in our heart. He's not even sitting or sleeping. He's standing and is waiting for all of us, right? Because the root cause of all our problems is we have forgotten Krishna and come in this material world. We have forgotten that we are that servant of Krishna and we have come here to enjoy. So that is the root cause of all problems, and that is why we are changing bodies. Why are we changing bodies? Because we want to enjoy different fruits of this world. We have forgotten that a real enjoyment is in service to Krishna, and we're trying to enjoy separately. And that is why we have to keep taking bodies. Like Srila Prabhupada would say, even if you have a desire to eat one gulab jamun, you will have to come back and take a birth again. Because to eat that gulab jamun, which is a material thing, you will need a body. And body means suffering. So therefore, what is the solution to become free from all lamentation, all shoka, all kinds of misery? What is the solution? Voluntarily surrendering to that supreme bird. Surrendering to that supreme bird and turning our face to the Lord. Right now, we have turned our face away from Krishna. That is why we are suffering. The solution to all our problems is turn our face towards Krishna. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar. Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikar. So Krishna is like the sun and Maya is like darkness. Wherever the sun of Krishna is, there is no darkness. So because we have turned our face away from Krishna, we are seeing darkness in front of us. But as soon as we turn towards Krishna, all our anxieties will go, all our miseries will go. So how does this verse help Arjuna to overcome lamentation and material compassion? So Krishna is telling Arjuna that don't worry about your grandfather and teacher. Right? Anyway, according to their karma, in the heavenly planet or a spiritual body, either way there is nothing to worry. Just like a person gives up old dress and gets a new one, they will get a new dress. Nothing to worry. But what is important is you do your duty. If you don't do your duty, then you will get wrong reactions, right? So don't worry about them. They will, whatever their action, whatever their reaction is, and whenever they're supposed to die, that is inevitable. You kill them or not, anyway, their death will come at a particular time. So what is most important is you carry on your duty. So the essence of this shloka is Krishna is telling Arjuna that this body is continuously changing. Therefore, if you want to avoid another change of body, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarjanare jatare shanam, ya samsare bahudushtare, kripaya pahe pahe murari. So Shankaracharya says this samsara is not a very happy place. There's so much misery everywhere, death everywhere. Wherever you see, you will find suffering and death. Taking birth, someone is taking birth, someone is dying. Right? What's going on in this world? You see the news around in this world. Only four things are going on. You will get some news of someone taking birth. You will get some news of someone dying. You will get some news of someone becoming old, diseased. These are the newses in this world. So nothing great in this world, right? So therefore, if you want to avoid the suffering, here samsare bhudushtare. This samsara is very cruel. It's very cruel, and this COVID is showing us practically that the world is very cruel, right? The material nature is very cruel. So therefore, the only solution is to take shelter of Krishna, to turn our face towards Krishna, and when we do that, we will see that all our sufferings mitigate at once. So we will, yeah. So we discuss this. We will go to the next verse, text 23. Nainam vinnanti shastrani, nayanam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo, na shoshayati maruta. No, never. Enam, this soul, chindanti, can cut to pieces. Yeah, I'm sorry, there's a lot of internet issues here. So, yeah. So, we are reading the word to word. No, never. Enam, this soul. Chindanti, can cut to pieces. Shastrani, weapons. No, never. Enam, this soul. Dahati, burns. Pavaka, fire. No, never. Cha, also. Enam, this soul. Kledyanti, moistens. Apaha, water. No, never. Shoshiyati, dries. Maruta, wind. So this is another very beautiful verse in the Gita. So Krishna says the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor be moistened by water, nor burned by fire, nor withered by the wind. Right? So the body can be cut to pieces by a weapon, can be moistened by water, can be burned by fire, and can be dried up by the wind. But the soul, nothing of this can happen. The soul cannot be cut by any weapon, neither a knife or a bullet can affect the soul. It cannot be moistened by water. It cannot even be burnt. So even if someone is burning one's body, the soul will not get burnt away. Right? So just see the drastic difference between the body and the soul. Right? So therefore, there's the story of Socrates. Socrates was a great philosopher, and he actually believed in the existence of the soul. Probably he read the Gita. So many of the great Western scholars, the philosophers, all of them have read the Gita. So Socrates was so convinced that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, that people actually came to feed him poison, very deadly hemlock poison. And Socrates, while drinking that poison, he said, y'all can't even see me. What is the question of killing me? What y'all will kill is only my body, but not the soul. The soul can never be killed. As I was telling you, these are the same set of instructions Asura is giving to Kamsa. Exactly same set of instructions. Right? So this is another very beautiful verse. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there are different kinds of weapons in this world, made of earth, water, fire, ether, etc. Right? But in modern scientific knowledge, we only know of weapons made of fire, right? Nuclear weapons. We don't have any idea of, yes, they have fire, water, water gun and air gun they have. But in previous times, the Kshatriyas were so powerful that Arjuna had many missiles with him. He could actually shoot a weapon that would just pour water everywhere, or fire everywhere, or air. he had weapons in which he could create tornadoes. Can you imagine? Right? So he had all these weapons. So Prabhupada explains that we may think that we are very advanced scientifically, but even in scientific knowledge, we are very backward. Our previous generations, those who follow the Vedic culture, they were much more advanced. Just by chanting mantras, they could invoke all these powerful weapons. Right? So here Prabhupada explains another very beautiful point, that what is the, in essence, what is Krishna trying to tell her? He's trying to tell her that the soul can never die, right? And the soul is always eternal. But the Mayavadis, those who impress this, they say that the soul has come into existence at a particular time. Right? It got separated from the Supreme Lord and came into existence. But here it is very clear that the individual soul is eternally there. Being atomic individual souls, eternally they are being prone to be influenced by the illusory energy. So it is not that we were once God and we separated away from God and we became an individual soul. No, we are never God. We are always an individual living entity, and because we are tiny, minute spark, there is a tendency that we come under illusion. So this is the difference between God and us. God can never come under illusion. Krishna can never come under Maya, but we can come under Maya. That tendency is there, right? So therefore, by surrendering to Krishna, we can get that freedom back again. We can reach that original position again. So the practical application of this is, if Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received by Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna, right? So Prabhupada explains that when Arjuna heard the Gita, Arjuna got liberated by the knowledge that he got from Krishna. But there is no way mentioned that Arjuna became one with Krishna. No, the individuality of the soul always remains. So Prabhupada was very strong on this point about, whenever Prabhupada would get an opportunity, he would make this point that a living entity cannot become God. God is always God. Living entity is always a living entity. Living entity can become godly. He can develop qualities of God, but he can never become God. Why this is important? Because practically most of the spiritual organizations that are there in this world, practically most of them are impersonalists. You will find somewhere they will tell you that you are God. You have just forgotten that you are God, but you practice this mantra, you practice this spirituality, you will become God. You will realize that you are one. We are all one, right? I am one, you are one, we are all one with him, right? Yes, that oneness is there, oneness in spirit. Just like a father and son, they are one in the sense that the son is always ready to fulfill the desire of the father. In that way, there is oneness, but that separateness is also there. We just don't merge into the Lord and forget our identity completely. That is nowhere supported in the Gita. So that's why Prabhupada is saying, Arjuna, when he received knowledge from the Gita, he definitely became liberated. But his separateness remained and he actually continued to fight also. So we'll stop here. From 24, we'll continue the next time. Anyone has any questions? You all can raise your hand and we will unmute you all. Yeah. Yes, Sharmishta Matadi. Yeah.
हरे कृष्ण जी, धन्यवाद, प्रणाम। प्रभु जी, मेरा सवाल ये है कि जैसे आपने कहा कि मतलब जैसे हमें कौन सी बर्थ लेना है अपने कर्मों के हिसाब से, आगे जाके इस बॉडी के बाद नेक्स्ट बर्थ क्या होगा, तो क्या अभी ये जो बर्थ है, तो ये क्या ऑलरेडी फिक्स्ड, मतलब ऑलरेडी पहले से फिक्स्ड है कि हम इस जन्म में आएंगे, क्या क्या करेंगे और कृष्ण के भक्त बनेंगे नहीं बनेंगे, या फिर जैसे गुरु की प्राप्ति होगी नहीं होगी, तो ये भी क्या ऑलरेडी फिक्स्ड है, मतलब पिछले जन्मों के कर्मों के हिसाब से?
हाँ, अच्छा प्रश्न है। तो हमारा जो ये जन्म है वो हमारे पिछले कर्म के अनुसार ही मिला है। जो माता पिता है, whoever our parents are, the place of birth, the body that we have is all because of our karma. That's for sure. And our future birth will also be dependent on karma. बट कमिंग टू स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ, भक्ति में आना और गुरु और भक्तों का संग कर्म का इफेक्ट नहीं है, ये कर्म के बाहर है। तो हमको भक्ति और भक्तों का संग हमारे कर्म, अच्छे कर्म की वजह से नहीं मिलता, वो भक्तों की कृपा से ही मिलता है। तो दिस इज समथिंग डिफरेंट ऑल टुगेदर। तो कृष्ण अपना कृपा भक्तों को देते हैं और भक्त कृष्ण का कृपा जिसको चाहिए उनको बांटते हैं। तो इसलिए भक्त किसी का कर्मा देख के भक्ति नहीं देते। तो इसलिए भक्ति में आना और भक्तों का संग कर्म के कैटेगरी में नहीं आता, इट डजंट फिट इनटू कर्म। और इसलिए भक्ति में आने के बाद भक्तों को ज्योतिष नहीं देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि ज्योतिष किसके लिए है? जो कर्म के अनुसार उसका जिंदगी चल रहा है उसके लिए ज्योतिष है, ज्योतिष विद्या। जो भक्ति में आ गया, कर्म उसकी जिंदगी में लागू होते ही नहीं है, कृष्ण संभालते हैं ऐसे भक्तों को। तो ऐसे भक्तों के लिए ज्योतिष लागू ही नहीं होता। इसलिए अगर कोई अच्छे से ज्योतिष के पास जाएगा, जिसको ज्योतिष विद्या अच्छे से आता है, वो क्लियरली बताएगा कि अगर आप भगवान के भक्त हैं, मैं आपके बारे में कुछ बोल नहीं सकता, क्योंकि कृष्ण कुछ भी बदल सकते हैं। तो प्रभुपाद बोलते थे हमारे हाथ में लकीरें रहती हैं, है कि नहीं? वी हैव डिफरेंट लाइंस, ये लाइंस को चेंज करना मुश्किल है, पर प्रभुपाद बोलते हैं एक तरीके से लाइन चेंज हो सकता है। हम कृष्ण के कीर्तन में आके ताली बजाएंगे हाथ के साथ, हाथ के लकीरें कृष्ण चेंज कर सकते हैं। तो इसलिए भक्ति में आने के बाद हमको ये विश्वास होना चाहिए कि कर्म छूट गया, अभी हमारा जो जिंदगी है और हमारा जो डोरी है वो कृष्ण के हाथ में है अभी।
जी। लेकिन प्रभु जी, जैसे पिछले कर्मों का फल तो हमें प्रारब्ध कर्म कैसे भी मिलता है। जैसे भीष्म देव हो गए कि उन्होंने, वो भी बहुत बड़े भक्त थे, लेकिन इतने पहले का कर्म उनको, जैसे मतलब वो सांप की जो स्टोरी है, तो उसके वजह से उनको सरसैया में मतलब उनको ये करना पड़ा। तो उनको तो इतने मतलब और जैसे गांधारी हो गए, उनको भी अपने कर्मों का फल तो प्रारब्ध, वो भी भक्त थे तो उनको भी अपने प्रारब्ध का कर्म का फल तो मिला ना प्रभु जी।
या सो बेसिकली ये कर्म करना भक्तों के जिंदगी में ये वर्णन नहीं है कि कष्ट नहीं आएगा, कष्ट तो आएंगे, पर ये जो कष्ट है कर्म के अनुसार नहीं होता। कृष्ण ये कष्ट को बेचते हैं। तो कृष्ण के पास हमारा अगर कर्म का चार्ट है, कष्ट मिलना चाहिए, सुख मिलना चाहिए, दुख मिलना चाहिए, तो जनरल लोगों को कृष्ण इंटरफेयर नहीं करते। ठीक है, हमारे आपके कर्म के अनुसार आपको मिलेगा। पर अगर भक्त हैं तो कृष्ण कृष्ण माया को बोलते हैं कि आप वो चार्ट है मुझे दे दो। तो कृष्ण देखेंगे इसको अभी दुख मिलना चाहिए, तो कृष्ण डिसाइड करेंगे हाँ ये दुख अच्छा है उसके लिए, क्योंकि ये दुख से उसके भक्ति में प्रगति होगा। तो कृष्ण बोलते हैं ठीक है ये दुख मिलने दो उसको। तो कृष्ण को लगता है ये सुख मिलना चाहिए, पर अगर कृष्ण को लगेगा नहीं कर्म के अनुसार इसको सुख मिलना चाहिए था, पर ये सुख मिलेगा तो ये भक्त भक्ति नहीं करेगा, इसलिए कृष्ण वो सुख को भी कैंसिल कर सकते हैं। तो इसलिए सुख दुख तो आएगा, पर ये सब कर्म के अनुसार नहीं होता, ये सब कृष्ण के अनुमति से ही होता है। क्योंकि जब कृष्ण का आश्रय लेता है, गुरु का आश्रय लेता है, कोई भक्ति का आश्रय लेता है, सो उसका जो रूल्स है अलग ही चलता है, इट गोज इनटू अ डिफरेंट कैटेगरी ऑल टुगेदर। हाँ, तो इसलिए हम अपने दृष्टिकोण से समझ नहीं सकते। अगर किसी का कर्म का चल रहा है या कृष्ण का चल रहा है, वी कांट अंडरस्टैंड। पर हमको ये विश्वास होना चाहिए कि कृष्ण की ही कृपा है, स्पेशली भक्तों के लिए।
और प्रभु जी, जैसे इस जन्म में किसी की भक्ति चल रही है और आगे वो बढ़ नहीं पाया, तो उसका डेथ हो जाता है, फिर अगले जन्म उसको मानव योनि मिलेगा या फिर कोई और योनि मिलेगा वो तो नहीं पता है, तो उसकी भक्ति तो आधे में रह गई, तो फिर ये कैसे फिर कंटिन्यू होगा आगे?
नहीं, ये तो कृष्ण बहुत क्लियरली बता रहे हैं, नेहा विक्रम नाशोस्ति 2.40। कृष्ण क्लियरली बोलते हैं कि आगे जाके आएगा दूसरे अध्याय में, कृष्ण बोलते हैं थोड़ा भी कोई भक्ति करेगा वो भक्ति का कभी नाश नहीं होगा। एंड प्रभुपाद वो तात्पर्य में लिखते हैं भक्ति कोई करेगा, एक चीज गारंटी है, उसको मनुष्य जन्म ही मिलेगा, अगला पशु का योनि नहीं मिलेगा। प्रभुपाद ये भी लिखता है।
थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।
थैंक यू। यस, शर्मिला माता जी, यू कैन अनम्यूट।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
या
Prabhuji, can I ask a question from? I was listening to your lectures on
Bhagavatam.
Bhagavatam as well
Okay,
as the Krishna book, which is now in progress.
correct.
So, can I ask a question on that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So I was listening to Bhagavatam, and you said in the Bhagavatam that Parikshit Maharaj heard the Bhagavatam for 7 days, 7 nights, without any interruption, like no sleeping, no eating, and he conquered death. That was the lecture. Now I'm a little bit confused about this. I have also heard a story, Prabhuji, that Parikshit Maharaj, after knowing that he was cursed and he was supposed to die after 7 days, had built a huge tower.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and he stayed on the last floor of the tower with all guards guarding him to evade death. And it was only his temptation of one small fruit which came up to he had to eat, and there came that small worm in the takshak in the form of a worm, and he killed him. Now my question, Prabhuji, is this. Please pardon me if I'm if I am thinking more than what is required. But my doubt was that if on one hand he says that he has conquered death, what was his fear of getting himself on the last floor of the tower and trying to evade death?
Good question. Yeah. So this is true that the Bhagavatam speaks very clearly that when Parikshit was cursed that he'll die in 7 days, Parikshit just gives up everything and sits to hear Bhagavatam, right? But the Mahabharata has a different version. Mahabharata explains something like this: that Parikshit protected himself, in a very secure place and tried to avoid Takshak. But you see, both the understandings are in one sense correct, because even if Parikshit really tried to protect, see, uh, you know when someone is going through a COVID phase, right? Someone is going through a COVID phase, right? Or a devotee is going through that. What will a devotee do? Definitely, a devotee will try his best to protect himself materially also, because one of the duty, like we will see in Krishna book, uh, when Devaki was supposed to be killed, Kamsa was trying to kill Devaki. Vasudev didn't tell that, "Arey, what will happen now. Why I should protect Devaki?" No, Vasudev did his best to protect Devaki. So one of the rules is, as long as we have this body, we need to try to our best to protect the body. That's everyone's duty, even a duty of a devotee. But simultaneously, a devotee internally knows that this body is going to die. In my heart, I need to take shelter of Krishna. You may do your best to protect the body, but internally, your faith is not in the body. Your faith is in Krishna. So Mahabharata may speak about that external Parikshit. So Mahabharata speaks about this four levels of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Mahabharata doesn't speak from pure devotional point of view. Bhagavatam speaks from pure devotional point of view, right? So Mahabharata speaks about Parikshit Maharaj responding from not from a pure devotional point of view, but from for the general public, right? You try to protect your body, that's fine. But the Bhagavatam speaks on another level. Bhagavatam speaks what Parikshit did internally. He took shelter of Shukdev Goswami. So in one sense, it may appear a little a different version, a little contradictory. You is going to die. What is Krishna, right? Like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, in 2005, he died with cancer. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was a very great soul. So when he was detected cancer, he tried every therapy. He went to every doctor, tried every therapy. So now you may say, Are, why is he trying every therapy? Because you have your body, so it's your duty to try your best to protect it. Because how will you know what is Krishna's plan for you? So you need to do your duty to protect the body. But still, Bhakti Tirth Maharaj internally was taking so much shelter of Krishna. He was not attached to his body. He was just doing his duty to protect the body. That's all. You understanding the point? So Bhagavatam
Yes.
speaks about the spirit of Parikshit.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And Mahabharata speaks about some external action that he may have done.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And there was another question, a small doubt, Prabhuji. You have while explaining Gita chapter 1, Gita book, you said that Maya is also a form of Krishna. It's a creation of Krishna. It's a creation of Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Maya is energy of Krishna, definitely.
Yes, yes. So my doubt was while hearing that chapter 1. Again, I seek your pardon, Prabhuji, if I am going somewhere wrong. But why did Krishna create Maya at the first instance? If we were not supposed to fall prey to Maya, if we were not supposed to be a conditioned soul, then why it was created, Prabhuji?
So these are all these, there are a lot of questions like this. Why Maya was created, why we were created.
Yes, yes,
So,
Prabhuji. I was thinking when I was hearing your chapter 1.
Yeah. So the point is, see, Krishna means Krishna along with his energies. Correct? So God means energetic and energies. They exist together. Okay, tell me one thing. Can you have fire? Can you have fire without heat and light?
No, Prabhuji.
Hello? You can't have, right? You can't have.
So
fire means heat and light together, correct?
Yes.
So similarly, Krishna means Krishna along with his different energies, right? And one of the energy of Krishna is living entities, all of us, correct? We are one of the energies of Krishna. And the quality of a living entity is free will. What is the quality of a living entity? Free will. I mean freedom. Okay? So when freedom is there, there'll be two options. The living entity will use that freedom properly or misuse that freedom. Correct? This possibility will always be there. Right?
Yes.
So for those who misuse, Krishna creates material energy, Maya, to handle them.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Otherwise, you may say, if Krishna doesn't give free will to us, then we will be just robots, right?
Yes.
So Krishna doesn't like to deal with robots. Krishna likes to deal with people who have choices. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Dipti.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, certain Jyotish Vidya who learn, they usually say, right, this is your last birth, or the body you're going to attain moksha. So what do they want to say when they say this is your last birth? Since you said like the soul is indestructible, and we have to change our bodies after we die or whatever.
The last birth means last birth basically means no more material bodies. There is some issue on your end, your phone.
Hello.
There's some issue from your end. There's a lot of echo that's coming.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but there's a lot of background disturbance. Okay. So anyway, the point is, when if someone is telling you it's your last birth, that means no more material bodies. You will get a spiritual body. That's what it means.
But suppose in this whole journey, if I end up doing something which is which will cause a bad karma, so until I repay it, I will not attain that whole moksha, right? Like
No, definitely not.
So I'll have to again take a rebirth and continue the whole process.
Yeah.
So when a person, I mean, if there's something like a very a wrongdoing by a person, will he have to repay it within this birth, or will the soul take another body to repay it?
It depends. Sometimes in this life, sometimes next life, sometimes you may have to take many lives. So it depends. So that's why Krishna tells, we will come to the third chapter. Krishna says that the workings of karma are very difficult to understand. How it works and which action reaction comes in this life, next life. Very difficult to explain that.
Yeah, because sometimes unknowingly we do something which tends to be, you know, wrong karma, or it, you know, adds up in a wrongdoing, but we don't know that it is something wrong that we are doing.
Correct. Yeah, knowingly, unknowingly, we commit so many wrong things. So that's why the best policy is to surrender to Krishna. So that's why Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami masucha. Krishna says, you surrender unto me, I will free you from all reactions, knowing, unknowingly, whatever you may have committed. So that's why taking shelter of Krishna is something that's very important.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, you said means like we are not we are not same, means like God is different and we are same. But what is the meaning of we are parts and parcel of Krishna? What is the meaning of that?
That means we are energy of Krishna. We are the energy of Krishna. Okay, you can unmute. Yeah.
Okay. So we are just energy of Krishna. We are not Krishna simply.
Exactly. We are not Krishna. We are energy of Krishna. Yeah. So just like you have a body and you have part of a body. You know, your finger is part of a body. So that means the purpose of this finger, the word, when you use the word part, that means the purpose of this part is to satisfy the whole. The finger is not the whole, right? So Krishna is that whole. We are one part. So our purpose is to satisfy that whole, that Supreme Lord.
Yes. Yes. Prabhu, I have another doubt. It's not from this class. Actually, when we are doing pradikshina for means like in front of Tulsi Maharani or someone, so why we are doing pradakshina, Prabhuji?
Because it's a sign of respect, you know, and you know, so by doing that you get a lot of spiritual benefits, like doing pradakshina of Tulsi or of a temple or of cow, you know. So there's a lot of benefit you get. So scriptures say that by doing pradakshina of Tulsi or of doing of cow or of temple, you don't have to take pradakshina again of this birth and death, because in life everything goes on in a cycle, na? Birth, death, you know, it goes on in a cycle. Like we saw the 6 changes: birth, maintenance, growth, reproduction, dwindling, death. Again, birth. The cycle keeps going on and on.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So by doing pradakshina, even a mala is like pradakshina, no? Cycle.
Yes. Yes.
So by doing all these cycles, we are saved from the cycles of birth and death.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's end for today. I have the Facebook Krishna book class also. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.